Unit 7, Period 7, Section 5, World War One. World War One in Europe lasted from 1914 to 1918, while American involvement lasted from 1917 to 1918. Previously, we talked about the fact that unrestricted submarine warfare was the cause of American entry into World War One. What about the impact of the war on Americans at home? Well, at the end of the Gilded Age, we talked about a strike known as the Pullman Strike in 1894. The Pullman Strike was led by a man named Eugene V. Debs, the labor union leader of the American Railway Union. Many people in the early part of the 20th century accused unions, organizations that protect workers, as fronts for communism or socialism. In 1917, Russia, who was part of the Triple Entente and allied with the British, the French, and the Americans, dropped out of World War One, and it's because their own country was going through a revolution that became known as the Bolshevik Revolution. Communists took over their country and changed their government to a communist form of government. People in the United States feared this form of government along with socialism because the definition of socialism and communism is government ownership of the factors of production. So people who are socialist or communist believe that the government should own the factories, control the workers, control the food supply, whereas our economic system is known as capitalism or free enterprise, and we believe that private individuals should control those factors of production. So while the war is going on, there are some mysterious explosions that occur in harbors along our coast, and some looks like sabotage across the country that could or could not be, but could be caused by German or Austrian spies working in the United States. So to counteract that, Congress passed what became known as the Espionage and Sedition Acts. Now, the definition of espionage is spying, and so sedition is threatening the government. So when things like this happened in the United States, many Americans became afraid that we had spies and things like that working against us within our own country. And so Congress um, passed the Espionage and Sedition Acts to try and catch these spies and put them in jail. Here is propaganda put out by the American government to try to encourage Americans to not spread gossip and to so that we would not indirectly help the enemy in our war. Well, Eugene V. Debs, the same guy that led the Pullman strike, was continuing to speak out against what he felt like were injustices in the business world and by our own government. And the government uh, accused him of committing sedition in his speeches, which many times were anti-war. And so they put Eugene V. Debs in jail. Well, surprisingly, he was such a popular person among workers and things that while in jail, they actually put him up to become president of the United States as a leader of the Socialist Party. The second impact that the war had on Americans at home was the mass movement of African Americans for the first time in our nation's history northward. This map here shows you how African Americans living in the South moved to many, many different parts of the country, mostly up into the Northeast, the and then the Midwest, and then even out west there you can see uh, the movement to all the way to California. This movement became known as the Great Migration. And this is a picture showing um, families at the train station getting ready to move up north. Now, why were they moving? They were moving because jobs became available because a lot of men left to go off and fight in World War One. This concludes Unit 7, Period 7, Section 5, the impact of World War One on Americans at home.